So every workplace has them. The colleague who badmouths you behind your back. No.
I have never heard of such a thing.
The boss who
By
takes
the way,
credit.
Ted Garcia, I don't want to say anything, but...
The boss who takes credit for everyone else's ideas, never heard of it. Never heard of either of these things.
Joining us on the Kogo News Live Line, workplace culture expert Shontaye Hawkins. And Shontaye, how do you keep these people from ruining your workday?
You just have to avoid them. Don't hire them. If they're already there, then get rid of them. But no, honestly, you really just want to make sure that you have set a standard as a company and an organization for acceptable behavior. And anything outside of that, you want to address head on. But there's the flip side, right? Because these toxic workers, according to this Harvard Business School working paper, they're hard workers. They're really good at their job, but they're corrupt.
So corrupt, like how? Like they cheat?
Well, so like you were in the intro, we just mentioned, these are the individuals who they take responsibility for their job, but they're also taking credit for everyone else's ideas. They're sexist, potentially. They're the one that you try to avoid. You don't want to interact with them. So everyone around them tries to avoid working with them and communicating with them, but they're hard workers, they're high performers, and they're very, very productive. So if you look at their numbers on paper, they're a good producer.
So, okay, then that begs the question, and actually, Leon and I both thought of one person right now that we're not going to mention.
Don't mention their names. We can't call any names because there's some people I think of, too, that come to my mind when I was going through this paper. Like,
yeah, but we thought of a good one. But when is it time to go to the bosses about him or her? Because the boss is just going to kind of say, well, that's one of our top employees.
Right.
Right. So, there's that, right? So if this is one of those high producers, and women generally are high producers, and you're kind of making this decision whether or not to have a conversation with the boss, here's the deal. You have to go into that conversation, if you choose to have it, knowing that, well, maybe I don't actually directly say anything about this individual. Maybe I'll look for an opportunity outside of the department so that I can stay with the organization if that's what you choose to do. Otherwise, you might want to start looking for another job or know that that's going to be the next move. Because if they're not going to address that toxic worker, chances are they're going to make it so uncomfortable for you that you're going to leave. But companies, when they look at the numbers and this person is breaking records, they just turn a blind eye.
Well, and that brings us to this. Is there a way to detoxify that person without, because let's face it, you can't avoid them. There they are, you work with them, and you've got to figure out a way to deal with it and perhaps be as productive as they are, but defang them a bit. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that what a company can do, and even if you have these individuals, they're already there, right? So there's not anything you can do about, okay, well, we can not hire them, right? You can put some initiatives in place to have some personality profiles that maybe pull this information out before you offer them a job. But if they're already there, you want to make sure first as a company that you have a zero tolerance for that type of behavior initiative in place. And if everyone knows that, then you can begin documenting this behavior and try to correct it, give them some type of training, sensitivity training, send them through some different programs, because you can still be a high performer and be very productive, but you don't have to be rude and mean.
That's an excellent point, and in a perfect world, I think everything would work just perfectly.
Okay, that's just not possible. That's a perfect world, and you're painting a perfect world picture. We don't live in a perfect world.
I think you know what? I think it's a great goal, and I think it can work. I think it just depends on where you work and how your bosses deal with it, right?
Yeah, it really is. It really leads to how much of the company, the leadership, how much they really care about the culture in an organization.
Well, and workplace culture for so many people is a key issue. In some cases, more important than pay for them.
Well, because what happens is if you don't have an environment where people want to stay, they're happy coming in there. We know that there's health care costs involved because they're calling in sick, they're not showing up to work. Then they also actually end up leaving the company, so there's work that they were doing now that you have to backfill with someone else, and you have to train someone else, a new individual. So there's a lot of cost involved when you lose an employee. So yes, you may have this high performer who is breaking sales records, but what are they costing you when everyone else doesn't want to be around them and they're leaving.
Workplace culture expert Shontaye Hawkins joining us on the Kogo News Live Line. Thank you, Shontaye.